Beautiful. As I said, you're perfectly No. Oh, there's lots of goodness there. There's lots of robes as well.
Lots of fabric.
Totally, but was the time wrote a book after his 1 year of ordination because of it. Too much material.
Too much material. Yeah.
Yeah. We're used to that.
I see crooked people.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe it suits us.
Crooked, yeah. Crooked and unscrupulous people.
You can put right there.
All right, so good morning, everyone. We're gonna start the session with the recitation of Gaden Hagema, 100 Deities of the Land of Joy. I'm gonna put the text on the screen. On page, sorry, 7. All right. Right.
From the heart of the Savior,
And holy full extent of the Holy Spirit with the voice and the explanations making this confess each and every one. Bestow from much learning and practicing this degenerate age and make your freedoms and richnesses meaningful. By abandoning the and sincerely rejoice in life. Perfect power from the divine power using actions.
Please let all the rain of profound sense of Dharma upon the receptacle of those to be subdued exactly as they need. May whatever virtue I have collected benefit the teachings of all transmigrating beings. In particular, may it cause the essence of perfect pure most unpracticed teachings to shine forever. Sashi
Guru Rama Mandala Dayami.
By the first of having thus requested perfect in this way, all the beings of white light are emitted from the heart, perfect, pure Father and Sons, and combining into one into my crown. White nectar, the color of milk, flows from the opening of the tube of white light, cleansing all my sicknesses, spirit harms, negative karmas, obscuration, imprints without exception. My body becomes as pure and clear as crystal. Mi me se we chen chen me si, ji me ke pe wo ho chang mo ya, hu ma lu shong se sang we da, yan chi ke pe su ye su ka pa, lo san cha pe sha la su wa de, mi me se we chen chen me si, ji me ke pe wo ho chang pe ya, hu ma lu shong se sang we da, kan chi ke pe su ye su ka, lo san cha pe sha la su wa de, ye chen chen me si, ji me ke pe wo ho chang pe ya, Sangi Chetan Sojin Shanam La Chanchu Kwantu Dami Kyawu Dagi Chuji Gibi Tsomi Jolam Sangi Drupara Sho Sangi Chetan Sojin Shanam Chanchu Kwantu Dami Kyawu Dagi Chuji Gibi Tsomi Jolam Sangi Drupara Sho Sangi Chetan Sojin Shanam Chanchu Kwantu Dami Kyawu Dagi Chuji Gibi Tsomi Jolam Sangi Drupara Sho Kangi Tuzini Zoni Tawa Tangje Pambi Chere Tambi Chun Dunze Kodam Kela Changze Lo. Good morning, everyone. The Kazi Tandanganzo Sumba Gavio Gomba Deladini Vicheva said Di Gangi Tsikashi Jima Lawyer Doji Taxlo. Lawson, the Dana Dambandi, Shini Tenzuni, Shineda Hangdongi Par, Sonro Content Jibi, Lambi Netamji, Sam Duni, Teda Tamjelan, Jogom Gubanam, Jogomchi, Jagom Gubanam, Susutobi, Sirvi Jeti, Yamni Rimba, Jigni Chibena, Sonro Tamji, Danga Dushani, Tedala Tambi, Chodunzi, Nibajidi, Tenam Danga Umbi, and it chu get some Zimbi, Lodonam, Lava. Never double euros. I lost in Juba.
So we're still looking at the section of Lama Tsongkhapa's presentation of the milling stages of, I'll start again. We're still looking at the second point in Lama Tsongkhapa's middling Lamrim. So of the 4 main point in the outline, we have started to look at explaining the greatness of the Dhamma in order to, or these teachings, in order to engender a sense of respect to the teacher and the instruction. So of the 4 points, we've covered the first 2 greatnesses of the Lamrim. Before we begin with the third one, Geshe wanted to just read the last part in the section that explains the second greatness. So I'm going to put the text on the screen, if I find it. I don't find it, just a second. Momentito. There it is. Okay. So before we start with the greatness of allowing you easily to discover the victor's intent in page 9 in our text, let's just read through indication of analytical meditation as means of making all the teachings appear as instructions. So remember that the second greatness of the Lamrim tradition is that the teachings that the Buddha gave dawn to your mind as instructions for practice. So it says thus, through summarizing all the essential points of paths set forth in the scriptures and their commentaries, starting from how to rely on a spiritual teacher up to shamatha and special insight, they are all condensed into stages of practical application in terms of performing placement meditation where placement meditation is required, and analytical with the wisdom of individual analysis where analytical meditation is required. Thereby, these instructions guide you so that all the scriptures present themselves to you as instructions. Then the certainty develops that they should be understood as supreme advice, and the misconception that they should be understood as mere background knowledge for the Dhamma rather than action instructions is completely reversed.
Tadini Lamrim di Chewa Shiding Nangi, that Chewa Sumba Yavigoma Delan Nigi Chewa the Demba said. And there is the Lamrim and it so be Lansavan Juksadi Tanda Chojipanda Shinzevita, Chanju Lamri Rewas, Chanju Lamri Re, Chanju Lamri, Randre Re, Ani Jangulam Sungavachin Zevita, Lamrim Chewa Chung Jing Sun. Kanji Lamrim gi Jong Teda ani the Chewa Shiding to Chagores, the Chewa Shi Nangita, Tambuni Drots and the Sumba Javu Comba Deladunivas Laundi, Javas ani Sanjum Dindi Gombati, Dusha Rumbasum, Anichi Tawa the Tamji Kimbi, Salaya, Tribanzibi, Tap, Ani the Mambu Shuj Song Rosra. Ani chungwe gyatu shutong long chula jawa ina tachi chomden dirang gisong la ya ani ndocho chigbo ni ani kangyur tamba gyada sumo ye dindi chi tsigo res ra ta dindi chig ani meji ki tsam lo ya zigo chongwa ina lomni chigo chongwa ina ani mezi korang ani pigi alatambo log ma tsani deya chig Sansam Ledoras, Tinza, the dig Tenda Zu de dog genie, Ra, and it to the Tuntonjig Nalaya, and the dog to Yagi Tapti, Lamrum Gushon Digitally, then to Wena, dog to Gris, Chevatioris.
So we're looking at the third greatness of the Lamrim tradition, which enables you to easily find the Buddha's intent. So we're looking at a presentation of the Lamrim as originated from Atisha's lamp for the path to enlightenment. So Atisha was the one that have composed the lamp for the path to enlightenment. Then came along Lama Tsongkhapa a few centuries after that, and he wrote the 3 extents on the states of the path to enlightenment. So first of all, we have the Lamrim Chemo, the great exposition on the steps of the path to enlightenment, then the middling explanation, then the brief explanation on the steps of the path to enlightenment. And those teaching on the steps of the path, teaching the steps of the path of the three scopes being, have those four great features, four greatnesses. It teaches the three scopes being the path leading to the state of liberation and the state of omniscience. So there are quite a few methods that are taught within those teachings leading to the state of liberation and the state of enlightenment, and they're taken from the vast body of scriptures that the Buddha taught. So we have 84,000 discourses that the Buddha gave, and they were compiled into a volume of teaching. So in the Tibetan tradition, they were compiled into a set of teachings that is called the Kangyur in Tibetan, the collection of teachings that the Buddha gave, only the sutras, and they are compiled into about 103 volumes. There are different editions of those volumes. So, you can say 103 volumes in one edition or 108 volumes in another edition. But anyway, there's a vast body of literature. So that if you take up the discourses that the Buddha taught in the volumes that they are condensed into and study them, you won't even be able to finish that within your lifetime. So then the greatness of the Lamrim tradition is being able to, it enables you to easily find the victor's intent, the Buddha's intent, through studying the presentation of the steps of the path to enlightenment.
Teri dinza ta lamrim gu nani kyang, ta ngarang samsirda, lamrim gu nani kyang, ani ta choji pandya adishaga, ta chanju lamrim tabi bayna, tsawi gi, ani kewu sumla ma jarni, ani chik kansa ombu numbu chiki, liya tuyana pe, ani ndum devu ta sivu chagwaris, ani chiki yanda ngada wa chiki, ani tetsamgi pegi chik lamji ani ko yonsu zobati ani chanju lamrin chiku jilateni ani poktuya chik mares ro ani ta jangol mutsunga bachimbi lamrin chemo tawdi dinang la hachang geba chichi kewsum lamrin pegi ta din nani ta chik kewchimbi lamjirimba din nani ta chik shil ne da langtong ko dinane langdonggi ani tawi kol tuzulaya ani be shit saguchin soyores bigita gyut yajon tichebo matra ani chik chongin debo ko tele gaja chin shiondige 대야 직 아니 나도 지금 엄마 두부지기야 직 참았수 아니 코딩 용거나 this 깔카고 직 디치디 빼는 나도지래야 아니 람름 그나는 직다 약시디 수수 로라야 참슈도디 람름 딩디 장관은 순가 비치면 람름 딩 송가래야 아직 장루 코랑 토네마 아니 기우스미 람이 름바티 아니 코 용수조마 지 세우슈지 대한직 안주 아니 깎걸어야 지 아니 교대 자종 종 타고 쇼든지 마다니 아니 디톨야 가자 치온디 고추로에서 대한 요마레스 람름 딩나로야 지랑 그마 비기 가서 먼저 칼라다마서는 참상 쇠지 쪽세간다마 디신 디오니칼 담보 랭고서 고코라만 딘수고 세우스르지 어두스 디샤기 땅간줄이야 답되고 쇼치기 나도는 답되고 쇼도스라 딘자 아니지 람름 담보 람름 냠니 칭이지 뭐네 담보 예상나 람름 아니 딘들이야 시투바나 안직 수주 란루도 아니 약부치 아니 진투자레스 디 강이야 다치 야기타에 nembeти 아니 람름 체모츠 키요 아니 람름 체모다 또 찬상 코츠온 다마 람름 샤금 체사디 아니 람조 있는다 람름 뒤에 있는다 데니 직자위 쇼 아니 잔주 람름 또 딘지직 tun동지가 봐 간 파자진 아니 수수수다 니마니마야 샤금 체투와 다 야고 쇼치 데니 원이 가요고 봐 델라도 또 세디 용사레스라
So then, looking at this presentation on the steps of the path to enlightenment, and this is how Geshe looks at that. When you look at Lama Tsongkhapa's, when you look at Atisha's lamp for the path to enlightenment, in which he taught the steps of the path of the beings of the three scope, really this text is for those of sharp faculties. So if you're a sharp faculty practitioner, you'll be able to take Atisha's text and in an easy manner, in a clear way, you'll understand the steps of the path to enlightenment. So that's for those of sharp faculties. But then Geshe said that looking at himself, he says that for someone like him that is not that sharp faculty person, if he just takes Atisha's presentation, tries to figure out the steps of the path to enlightenment, it's not going to become that easy. Right? It's not that he would be able to become very clear about the steps of the path to enlightenment just based upon Atisha's presentation. So then, Lama Tsongkhapa wrote the Lamrim Chemo, the great exposition on the steps of the path to enlightenment, in which he wrote this extensive presentation on the three scopes of, and particularly when you look at the presentation of the great scope, including the section of shamatha and vipassana, calm abiding and special insight, it's very extensive. So particularly when you look at the presentation of special insight, the way to develop vipassana, special insight, Lama Tsongkhapa he took the great text, he took the quite a few positions of great Indian scholars and contrasted them. Right? So he said that in this system, this is what this scholar said. In the other system, this is what the other scholar said. So contrasting those different sources together, including scriptural citations, he presented extensively the way to develop special insight. And again, this is something that is also quite demanding, quite quite extensive. So therefore, Geshe said that looking then at the medium presentation of the steps of the path to enlightenment, Geshe says that for him, this is something that works best in the sense that it presents, the middling Lamrim presents our own system. So there is a presentation of the steps of the path taken from the perspective of our own system. So from that, our own system can become very clear. The presentation of the steps of the path becomes quite clear. If you have the ability to look at the calm abiding and special insight section, particularly the special insight section taken from the Lamrim Chemo, the great exposition on the steps of the path of enlightenment, and understand the different position put forward by different Indian scholars, of course, that's good, but it can also get confusing. Right? So you can get confused about those different positions. So looking at how Lama Tsongkhapa then presented it in the medium presentation on the steps of the path of enlightenment, presenting that from the perspective of our own system, it's like everything laid out in front of you, crystal clear, like sitting down to have food where all the dishes are already laid out on the table. And also you pointed to where you will begin, where's the entry dish and all the other dishes. So everything is already kind of laid out and prepared for you. So this is the presentation that we have, that we're looking at here, the middling Lamrim. So then you study that, and when you then look at other texts that Lama Tsongkhapa composed, you can improve your understanding on the of the states of the path of enlightenment. So you can understand the middling Lamrim and then look at more extensive explanation, the Lamrim Chemo, in order to improve your understanding. So that at the end, when you develop that understanding, you can take up a glance meditation in which you review the steps of the path of enlightenment. So you can use texts such as the three principal aspects of the path, or Lama Tsongkhapa's Songs of Experience, the abridged presentation of the steps of the path of enlightenment, in which you can, through that, easily find the intention of the Buddha, the victor, in such teachings.
Dinza da benanga dojilaya chi lamram shegores lavdi nge kaduna lamram drink damguyus tane de tatsal nibare kazna di pigilaya chi tanjishiwa nanjing manzu len chocho chi delaya nyaskos kaya chi toba chi goya rawda zawida tangan sanaya toba yorda ina kanji ani jamgolom tsunga chimbi konran rangki chi gombi nimbodi ma yitol kwechin nanzulaya kala nansin chin nyemba tesha gyuti lamrim ring ro di chagdos dinza nganzu delaya chi jamba ya cheche di diniya yaji taydi an lamrim chemola chi sibaina dini pe eni chi karso da chi goda masum gya goda masum dini pe ani chedo sares ro 당부 수수 장루 자야지 비 샘때서지 로 먼저 샘든 규초초 인자 망규리야 아니 지 딘디기 비리야 때서 주디 람름 딩라야 때 람름 딩텔야 규여와치지 안도 순저와나 당원이 자유고 모델라 또투 서레스로
So if Geshe would have to choose what presentation of the Lamrim he would teach, he would always go to the middling presentation. This is the second time round where he teaches the middling Lamrim here at Chinrezek Institute. And it seems that if we have any doubts, any queries with respect to the teachings of the Buddha, they're clarified in Jelin Puchen, Lam Tsongkhapa's presentation of the states of enlightenment, in that it presents us with the very essence, the quintessential intention of the victor, the Buddha. So then, looking at how Lama Tsongkhapa presented it is like spoon-feeding us with the teachings of the Buddha. Right? He's arranged all those teachings in front of us, like arranging different dishes in front of us, is spoon-feeding us with those teachings. So in that sense, is opening the door for the teachings of the Buddha, presenting it from the perspective of our own system. It's good for us because currently you could say that our current disposition is as such that our mind is being swayed quite easily. Our mind is fickle. We kind of change quite often. So since this is our beginning point, we have here a presentation that makes it much easier to digest. And this is the third greatness of the Lamrim tradition. The intention of the Buddha is easily found.
dambi choyin kyans damga zodi sonro konten cheba sanji song ani jagar khibi ta penro giteni chik ani jawa to suda ngone ta damga chok an to sores ta yons majampi kansa le tambo we and that dizole kaptu dizole chik ani jechin teni chu ani nyamlen la jago chonta ani chakbu shu ro catching shoot the zoning suit and do matuyak and dior tinza and membi mengala matemper Jean Tedalata Tambi Menga Gonda Tambi Mengala Madember Jean Tedala Shukian Gumbo Menilas near the Chukian Tushin de Rimata 6 should cheval 2 source Lamrim Mengan Deta Dejavala Tenan Della Topin Juro said.
So let's look at what Lama Tsongkhapa says with respect to this greatness. So the greatness of allowing you easily to discover the victor's intention begins with, for beginners, the victor's intention is not easy to discover without a guru's oral instruction. Although the great text, the scriptures, along with the commentaries, are the best advice, complete uneducated beginners cannot find their intention, even though delving into them without relying on excellent oral instructions. And even if they find it, it takes them a lot of time and enormous effort. So Geshe said that we have, for example, the classical systems, the Indian system, which provide you with supreme instructions. However, when you look at the extent of the instructions, the depth and the breadth of those instructions, they're quite difficult and so extensive that you might wonder, where do I begin and how do I summarize this vast array of instructions? So the greatness of the Lamrim is it allows you to easily find the victor's intent. And when it says here, the victor's intention is found through the guru's oral instructions, if they rely on guru's oral instruction and the like, it is easy to understand. That's the third greatness.
Jeda lami mengam de dan de daw la tenita jayo komba dela to shibita jayo komba zu di ani ta nganzu lam girim ba chansa ma jaros sabgi lam girim ba chansa ma ta bi ani shiba na ta go sheni ten suni chinta ani thar ani mulubi sonjuk to bi rimbi parki ta lam girim ba chansa ma di ani dela to to gres.
As this section summarizes this point, if they rely on Guru's oral instructions and the like, it is easy to understand. It is easy to understand the steps of the path of enlightenment from the beginning, the way to properly rely upon a spiritual teacher, all the way up to the non-learners union. The intention of the Buddha covering that expense is easily understood through the presentation of the Lamrim.
Tadini Shiva Niju Chembo Ranga Sundrovi Chevanes. Derita Cheva Shiva Dita, and Niju Chembo Ranga Sundrovi Chevas.
Let's look at the fourth greatness of the Lamrim. The greatness of a great misdeed stopping by itself.
Ta Niju Chembo Sonde di zu lungaki ani sumi jigi chobati dichagores tinza lungaki ani sushim maimbi chobati ka mathubayina ani nganzu ta chinam gishude dagarare ani shiden koran la rogenza di ani ta ranga sundri chawati lamrum delaya khandis dengris shivainas ani Lamrim digita Goshini tensuni ju and sonju milive rimba to be lam girimba chansan di ma sewich in sonjagi di sosu gilaya jagi and lobjon chin drovayana big lunga choba rabang juchi yorata and ngagi choba lugu choba tenichi marab so ko any mix carni surd and chick telea kado machina and Lamrim laya comedy showed ko and ranga by year of retochik. But this sungores.
So when this section speaks about great misdeeds or misdeeds, wrong behavior, stopping by itself, it refers, for example, to inappropriate behavior of body and speech, which is the basis for the ethics that we take up. So all the way from the way to rely upon a spiritual teacher through to the attainment of a non-learners union, we look at the presentation of the Lamrim, we take it up, we train it up, we apply it to our own continuum through study and practice. And along the way, we pay attention, we focus on different elements. And we, in relation to them, we put a stop to some faulty behavior, some misdeeds. The presentation of the steps of the path allows you to do that.
상기기 까탕지 우던 규비 상계비 탑점바 마코와스 탑점바 샤다레스 이내야 직등 가능한 저다 마코와 가시 상계비 탑 가시 상계비 계수손이 장엔다 리미리기 당 태바 최종도 최대 비글이야 지라 mambu chede chila pa chik ani cha de samno di chone da ani sonchen tini kharso ta ji kanji sonro la ya yinjik ani samno dus ani samlu on sonje tini chik yinjik ta kejan dam da she de baina tini ta lenge ba sabjin shu ta chumbu lesing sa do gores the ganjingagi ni just any subject this later is
Let's read through that section. As explained in the Lotus Sutra, we're looking at point A, showing the abandonment of the Dhamma as the biggest misdeed. As explained in the Lotus Sutra and the chapter on of the truthful one, it amounts to abandoning the Dhamma if you hold some of the Buddha's utterances are means of attaining Buddhahood, while others are obstacles to Buddhahood, dividing them into good and bad, appropriate or inappropriate, and so forth. So, in looking at the teachings that the Buddha gave, if you scrutinize the teaching and reach a conclusion that some of the things that the Buddha said are methods for becoming a Buddha yourself or attaining enlightenment, whereas the others are obstacles for becoming enlightenment, right? So you take some of the teachings that the Buddha gave to be hindrances for enlightenment, while others are methods for enlightenment. This, and you also hold it or propound it, you speak about it like that, it's considered to be a grave misdeed.
최종의 최대 장심 긴들 로고라 들로 무고수시 도르자손이 최봉원 교와당스 라 전주 셈비기 아니 태버 최종 간르지기 아니 손로기는야 전주 셈비 라무고 이야기 산지 손찌게요 말했어 간스나 도제 태버 숨기기 된 제고연자 도제 태버 숨기기 람라야 말라바 아니 도제 태버 숨기 리지 지 손투야기 디요 말했어 진짜 강갈라에 라고 말했어 진짜 미싱 에지기 아니 전주 셈비 티징 되는라마도 아니 팀밍이 되는 라고 말했어 팀밍이 되는 도저히 세대여서 디초요 말 세대여서 시야바이나 아니 최봉이 레차도 그랬어.
So it says that if you divide those teachings of the Buddha into good and bad, appropriate and inappropriate, or Mahayana and Hinayana, and thereupon hold that the Bodhisattva needs to train in some and not in others, it would be, this is because you fail to understand that the Buddha's words directly or indirectly teach the means for attaining Buddhahood. So if you make that distinction into teachings that are appropriate, inappropriate, those that a Bodhisattva needs to train it, those that the Bodhisattva does not need to train it, you accrue a grave action that is called an action of abandoning the Dhamma. So in an actual fact, a Bodhisattva needs to train in the paths of practitioners of the three vehicles. In order to be able to benefit them, they still need to train in the paths of the three vehicles. So if you hold that such and such teachings, for example, were given for the sake of those that follow the Hinayana, and thereby is one that follows the Mahayana, you do need to train it. It is a grave mistake. It is a grave misdeed of abandoning the Dhamma.
람기 림바스 때나여와스 라 상기기 땐 로야질이야 진주 도자초기 냠슬레 물어가지 싸우니 너무 쓰고 왔어라.
So the Buddha taught the three vehicles. He taught the paths of those three vehicles. So it is impossible to have disciples that follow the teachings of the Buddha that do not need to train in following those paths. Having said that, still, when you look at the teachings of the Buddha gave, since there are different disciples of different dispositions, and to them the Buddha gave teachings that vary in their extensiveness or profundity, you can still say that there are differences in terms of vastness and profundity, and it's not that it's not allowed to express that.
Pena sanji gi song koranlaya, sanji gi song koranlaya, changi gi iwa chichogoras. Ko kang nguyo netsulaya, changdunre, ngedunre, dachijen bumayina, dachijen bumaris. Diko nguyo netsugu toni, keba yobadi, keba chichogoras. Diyan cholong keja, dipiki marwas, ra.
So, for example, we do speak about teachings of the Buddha that are provisional and teachings that are definitive, teachings that are not to be taken literally and so forth. So we speak about it in this way, and it's not that it's not allowed to say that, right? So there are teachings that are definitive, provisional, interpretive, not literal, and so forth.
Dindijiredos, the cholong geja maimba, chiglaya chol, chiglaya dan kejishabaina, and ledukja sadro yobaji. Muyu nesugutoni, keva kaimba di, could kevachin droidi, namjug any chavajimba, or dindiredos, that the mashibaina, and the mashibaina, any enjig cholondrona, chumbung lesai, the yinga chimbo, or dindichagos.
So we do use our wisdom that discern between the correct or incorrect, the positive or the negative, the right and the wrong. So we do use that type of intelligence without being partial. In a sense that when we become partial, we hold on to our system and we develop a sense of aversion to others. So without being partial, we still want to scrutinize the teaching in terms of which one of them are totally in line with reality and which with what is real and which is not. So in that way, we use our intelligence. If we become partial, if we become sectarian in our approach, that's really negative.
And be that Chabongule and it's Tashan Tower to Zota, running on the bear and a talk alacabo. Yours the Tamche Dubin Dole and bed that Chimachin song yours, song sauce.
In the sutra gathering, the threads, it says that the karmic obscuration due to abandoning the Dharma is so subtle that it is hard to recognize.
That chupana, ra chupana, chuzodi, tandi, and kauchudi, long down, dobichu nignani, so long chudilaya, songudas, that chupana, never carrier islandi, nimishu chigris. Doting in the Jabul, Sanji Korang song Namalaya. Kanki, any Zambul in Digita, any that Chodan Tamji ship Chebe, Kangi Dode Ponchebe, Divan Chekepa. Kangi Chenigi, Dacham Seven Guave, Kangi Dode Ponchebe, Divan Chekepa, Sheson sauce. That is Chetan Sigura.
So we spoke about the negative action that you accrue in abandoning the Dhamma and explaining the gravity of this action. The next section says, concerning the very great disadvantages that ensue if you abandon the Dhamma, it says in the King of Concentration Sutra, someone here in Jambudvipa tears down all the stupas found, someone abandons a class of sutras, the latter's bad action is far more serious. Someone even murders arhats, as many as sand grains in the Ganges, someone abandons a class of sutras. The latter's bad action is far more serious.
다칠 추봉원이야 고 망든 하나스 하르템 바탈스 하르템비 곤데 케체슈 스나는 베베봉을 차오스 손딩 하말이야 니치 손로 곤데 제발이야 아니 마쿠바 라나메바치 큐토그리스 안 디그마레 손데죠 어디선 거다 라 다디 케체슈 손로 곤데 제발이야 아니 마쿠비 로치 차와이나 데니 단 예바 슈치 들어 단 예바 마도 아니 게위 촉지 그 용서메기로 차사라스 인자 다디 베마스바 아니 냥가 침부 인자 sabgosa기 네 개치슈드 차고레스
And it says, although there generally appear to be many ways in which the Dhamma might be abandoned, the one described previously appears to be the most significant, which is why we should try hard to give it up. So, in general, when we look at the Dhamma, the teachings of the Buddha, there are teachings as scriptures and teachings as realizations. The Buddha gave extensive teachings and also commentaries based on those teachings. So the most important thing is not to develop an attitude of a disrespectful attitude towards those teachings. If our attitude towards those teachings, the teachings that the Buddha gave in the commentaries, is disrespectful or dismissive, it is a great fault. It put a stop or it blocks the class of virtue. The class of virtue will not come about if you develop that attitude of disrespect to the teachings and the commentaries.
Go Mambuyore said, Jadang Chubunguleya, the Jadang Sonrolaya, Makubagi, and it's Chavakanda Chevainaya, and it's Chubunguleres Sonra, Pena, and Lebum D. Todayachik, Namegi, Suzuki, Labigi, Chingatsunjeni, and Lebum D. Ganaya, and Nameg Tony Shavaina, Chumbungule Chadores, and Lamrim Timdinalia, Sonyores.
And when it says here that although there are generally appear to be many ways in which the Dhamma might be abandoned, there are many types of activities that you would do. Some of them are quite simple, even insofar as taking up a text such as this and carrying it somewhere. And even with that, there would be some dismissive attitude towards it that could creep in. You know, so such an action can easily be incurred.
Sanji Chomden the Musutanganzun Jivi Kawatanganzun Tanda Yomarawas. Inaya Sanji Gita Kosun to Yonsu Zobig, and Saptavadi, and Sanji Son Diti. Son Dian Pigitaji, Ma Lebang Tolama, Yusuchin Gudeva, Di Konamado, Nanzo Shambale, captures a chill mebasra. Means that D and Sanji Son. There is Sanji Koina, there is Sanji Tuna, and Mandu Digi, any Koson Tukita, and the Sabchichin, that Teletaning on the Gimutus Pongoenza, Deli Havaji, and the Sanji Mebat, Sanji Pevain and Deli Soya Meva, Deli Hanganzuli, Japsu Mevaji, Ko Muyo Chavanzatan, Delia, and the Sanji Dushi Shama Tuana, 안 산지 두시 샤서지 라고 말했어. 요 말했어. 그러 딘자 딘지 산지 무 두시 샤고서 텔야 마쿠바 차바나다 아니 레츠진 슈지 로 레츠진 슈지 차고라서 그러
Now, it's considered to be such a grave negative action if you were to develop a dismissive attitude towards text and so forth, because considering, for example, what for us would be an object of refuge, a final refuge for us would be the Buddha. But we haven't met the historical Buddha in person. We do not see or meet him directly, but we have some things that act in lieu. So we have things that for us represent the qualities of body, speech, and mind of the Buddha. So we have statues and text and other objects that for us represent the qualities of Buddha speech and of body, speech, and mind of Buddha. So, for example, we have Dhamma texts that for us represent the quality of the speech of the Buddha. It depends upon the Dhamma. We pacify afflictions in our own mind stream. We come to eliminate, abandon afflictions from our own mind stream. And therefore, you could say that there's no greater refuge greater than that that we can seek. So we adopt a mental attitude that for us, they are real Buddhas. Right? So those, they're Buddha in actuality, statues or texts and so forth. We adopt the mental attitude that for us, they Buddha in actuality, because it depends upon them, we come to eliminate afflictions from our own mind stream. And therefore, should we adopt an attitude that is dismissive or disrespectful towards something that is a Buddha in an actual sense, that would be a grave negativity.
Tere bena lamrim da lamrim sama gondere nanzu lama giwi shinindi ane sanjingu dushi shakores sanjingu dan dawa re song dege lama giwi shinin so nanzu le lamden nawandi ane sonrum del den sonrum de ma dende shuchini ane nanzu ma lamden nayanch ma do dipha shani ane lama giwi shinin rantogi ane bigi ta chik sanjigi ane sonrum la ya madu bigi damgaji zawni nayamando asra nayo marasti.
So then in terms of our spiritual teacher, what acts as a spiritual teacher, so we have this presentation of the Lamrim teaching us those points to be employed on the path of enlightenment. So in that sense, there is nothing other or better that could give us instructions and teachings on what is to be done.
Tere dinza pena sonro gondan de chebal madu bigita ji damga jiyaban ta di damga maris lan lab chogors ro kanji ani sanji sonrum delaya kanji dele tengu das dele techin dele teni ani loma kyongu yanantra rangi gyojang yanantra kanji sanji kombandi ta nganzu sonrum digi dele teni rogo das dinza dele hawaji ani sanji ngus chemba inaya nganzole soya mebata lamrum gonden rosro nganzoba rigbi chebainata rigbi chutuyachi nedunji chagdo dinza ani kadduina makuba putsam kapse tsam mandroyachi ro ani cha chesaina yul diris choba pusaina yul sonro digidires dinza tanganzo di pechete yabochin di nyams lambaina ani tawa tamji ki komo top tuyachi ta dela madena kaya yongi mebadi ani Geshe gyatamba dires.
So then there could be some instructions that you would get, that you would find, and at the end of the day, there would not be those instructions that are actually found in the Buddha's teachings and the commentaries. But then when we look at the Buddha's teachings and commentaries themselves, we can see how for us, they do become instructions for practice, which are contained in the presentation of the Lamrim, the steps of the path to enlightenment. So then when you come to see that all of those excellent teachings were condensed into the presentation of the Lamrim, then you avoid that notion or that behavior that is dismissive or disrespectful to some of the instructions or the teachings and the commentaries based on the teachings of the Buddha. So you use reasoning and a rational approach to looking at such presentation, and through using reasons and logic, you avoid a disrespectful attitude towards them. Not only that, you also come to appreciate them, to venerate them to a greater and greater extent. And when you see that there is no better or higher presentation for me that I can look at in terms that condenses those essential points that the Buddha spoke of, you start to develop this respectful attitude. You see that as those teachings as an object for homage. You pay homage to those teachings. You make offerings to them. And when you do it, when you adopt that attitude, Geshe is certain, 100% certain that you will not allow that such a disrespectful attitude to creep in.
Dinza nganzu sangi kusung tuksum nang sangi zeba tamjig nang zebi chodi song zeba res iko di yongja res dinza nganzu cha chumbi chibi kabdula ya samsang ya nganzu ji ani song digidi pi chotse wo ro jla pa chu ani di gang de ya ani ji tan damandra gi shansha gyu ku da chöden le so dindi ja ani chobo pesa yu zo di bi so ro chi 제대디 야차 야담은 노르고 서레스로 가서는 아주 별이야 카균 거랑이야 아니 까톨이야 꾸마샤스 레봉 톨이야 꾼다딘지 싸우는 마샤스 개체슈 레봉들에스 딘딜라고 딩원에 차고라 당안존에 상기기 질러진 주거나 아니 고수 투승난 숭 레봉 디토는 주거마도 잠바 줄름 싸우는 요 말스터로 요 말스터
That being the case, looking at how we take a practical approach to that when we, for example, arrange different types of Dhamma objects. So sometimes you might end up placing a text on a shelf under a table. And on top of that, on the table, on the upper surface, you will place a statue or a stupa, in having that idea that these are really important objects. But actually, this is 100% mistaken in terms of looking at the body, speech, and mind of Buddha. Of the body, speech, and mind, the most supreme is regarded as the speech. That is the most important quality out of body, speech, and mind. So therefore, a practical instruction that is given in the Tibetan tradition is never to place statues on texts. Do not place statues on texts, because when you consider what is the most important thing, the text is the most important thing. Looking at the way that we receive the Buddha's blessings, do we receive them through body, speech, and mind? The way to receive the Buddha's teachings, the best way, the most supreme way to receive them would be through the texts.
다 가리는 받는 간주 지 미셰도다 딘지 자원이다 샤디오 마르스 야름지 참마무 송요르스 디조 코피글레 nenga 쇼즈를 토긴자 안 송요르스 어디레.
So we get advice with respect to that. Do not place different things on text. His Holiness the Dalai Lama, for example, said in relation to that a few times, do not put different things on a text. Don't leave your glasses lying on a text and so forth. So it's important to listen to such instructions.
산경무스 주요바나 간주 믹셰 파샤로 아니 칭아 파샤 베나 지 터질이야 둘춘중지 베 아니 산기기 구수 돌아야 사르거나 아니 잡치무진 출랭그로스로 어딘자 상기 무스 슈바데 케바미바디 아니 송 디기드레스 딘자 송럽 디기드레스 딘자 간주 텔이야 상기 무 두시 가주스 아니 슈쳔부 샤토바나 뒤주고 ጾ사고요리 뒤주고 진을 주고요다 베시우리스로
So if you imagine a situation where the Buddha were here with you in actuality, you would meet a Buddha in person, then let alone not kind of taking your glasses away and just leaving it on the Buddha or placing something else on the Buddha. If there is a particle of dust or dirt that will land on a Buddha in actuality, then of course you would do whatever you can in order to remove that, right? Having that really respectful attitude. So therefore, when we look at the type of attitude that we adopt towards things that represent the body, speech, and mind of the Buddha, text for us represent the quality of speech. So we take the mental attitude that this is for us a Buddha in actuality. So we attend the mind to it, we become attentive to it, and through that we also receive the blessings of the Buddha.
Yeah.
So there's a question here. Is it abandoning the Dharma to start a YouTube Dharma teachings, but then to stop looking at it until the end, sort of cutting it in some way? 그래서 선선들 차게도네 순준되는 얘기로 YouTube 들어서 바로 제가 직 고츠네 아니 처음 왔다와지 과가지가 된대지 참샤네 된체와이나 주봉기 레든데 치기레베스
티츠기 말했지. 네가 상마 땀 마투가 지어라스라. 먼저 제 마투바디 가서다 제 무수비 셋 차와라. 제 무수바지. 제 무수바지 만나 믹스드는 용도 왔어.
So Geshe reckons that not watching something till the end does not necessarily constitute an action of abandoning the Dharma, because sometimes we just can't. There are things that we cannot do. There are some things that you might say that we do, but still we cannot bring them to completion, or altogether they're not within our ability. So if you cannot do something, it doesn't mean to say that you accrue the fault of abandoning the Dharma.
Kuda soni wati penatan jamgonam sunga bachimbi kundra chikta di son pod chevki khairo pen chanjol lamrim ding ta wani wati and society le yobaina ta kudi chtan nganzu pen ngado na ta and jamgonam sunga chim kulaya pe masiva tene karswata debada gawiyes ro ineya chanjol lamrim ding da di ichi society le yodigi Mus sosolaya payadi, but the gangur tongurle any son digi tony, that Janganam Kusun took it to Yons Zobi, Yondi, Jetuyachi, Mado, Kudi Tony, Savi Tabachini, Tebito Gichilabdi, and on the Tongo Marmada Shen, Kitchias Kimadosra.
So one point that Geshe emphasized here is the attitude that we take towards things such as text and statues. So imagine the following situation. In front of you, you would have a statue of Lama Tsongkhapa, or a volume taken out of the 18 volumes of teachings of Lama Tsongkhapa, such as, for example, a volume of the middling presentation of the Steps of the Path of Enlightenment. So you have a statue of Lama Tsongkhapa in front of you and a text. So, which is more important in that sense? Well, the statue of Lama Tsongkhapa, and Geshe says that he really liked Lama Tsongkhapa, so he also kind of have, if you were to encounter a statue of Lama Tsongkhapa, he has faith and appreciation of such a statue, but the real benefit will come from the teachings of Lama Tsongkhapa. You can actually see the qualities of body, speech, and mind that are to be developed through looking at such teachings on the middling stages of enlightenment. So a statue is important. It is a support for faith, but it is not like a text that teaches you how to develop those qualities.
Tereda Lama Tsongkhapa kita jiku penata gyare tongri mbom din ji shang tu bain da sonam da shu sagar de ne ya lamrim ring di ani sarchi jeba tingi bo durbai na ani ji nyeje chembo rangas ndri chewadi lamrim ring sarchi jeba digi ani shuk chegros ro.
So in that sense, if you construct 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 and so forth statues of Lamrim couple, or alternatively, you study once the middling Lamrim, Geshe reckons that the benefit that you will get from studying would be far greater than constructing that vast amount of great number of statues, because particularly when you look at the fourth greatness of the Lamrim tradition, which allows you to avoid such great misdeeds, you can avoid such great misdeeds of abandoning the Dhamma through studying this presentation once. And because of that, the benefit that you get from a text, studying the text, even once, is far greater than constructing this great number of statues.
Tere dinza ani dulu chentu chechin da nganzu pigilya ani shimju cheche ani songi tani ani kharsorta ani chewati to thubaina tani chumbong ku lela soba digbat sarjen sayala soba lunga ki nyechu chamalo ani dom thuya chikta ani sonrobla ya sem ding kubayo ya dindri yonsar was ra.
So then looking at great negativities that are to be avoided, through excellent teachings such as that, you can avoid misdeeds of body and speech and also mind. Young Victoria in the
Yeah.
So Victoria is asking, earlier I thought you said the fourth greatness was easily stopping misdeeds of body and speech, but you did not mention mind. Did I just not hear you saying mind? I think that this is how Geshe presented it initially. Let's clarify it with him. Chazande nyachu chembo paya seashwa chewa shibade. Tambo de krande Geshe gyaldu. So the lutang ngagi nyachu de kasa go shen tenso miloba sunju padu ani lutang ngagi nyachu di zen chik Geshe chik yun ba. Ine di so di semgi nyechu dende zerve lutanga dende zerve kandichi.
Tante di dirdas nganzu go shenye tensuni jug mulubi sunju ki ani rimbatombi lamgi rimba changchangwa di dela do tokthugre sayadi ani chewa sumbatchi ra ta nyeju chimbo rangal revi chewa sayagi nyeju di zo lunga ki nyeju la shagores ra ta zo lunga ki nyeju kam dishe zo lunga ki nyeju ta di lunga ki nyeju dongdi di tonda ani semla ya gyuwa techin ni semga nyeju dongyeji yungros ra.
The third greatness of the Lamrim was that the intention of the victor is easily found. Once you easily found the Buddha's intent, then you can also easily avoid grave misdeeds. Now, those grave misdeeds, Geshe says that are mainly misdeeds of body and speech, physical and verbal activities. Of course, in your mind, you will also avoid great misdeeds, but the main things that you will avoid is accruing such misdeeds with your body and speech.
Rakshudo the lunga ki nyechu derendas tipa chik shetuwa na zawi gi zu di ani sangi gu che koran zu sem gyuju tan jinza ani yigi nyechu donggo ya da me ma go bajrwas tinza lamrum du sinyam sulen di ani pigi gi chik sem chu zu ko rimba changzang di so lamram no to yandi sem chu zu rimba 들어왔어 아니 이기 예주 동에 디다 고 자비 드브자도 차고라서 로 드브자도 차고라서.
But then when we, as beginners, when we take up the practice of the steps of the path of enlightenment, we first off deal with course level of actions that we put a stop to. So the course level of actions are physical and verbal actions. This is what we deal with to begin with. Of course, looking at the entirety of the presentation of the steps of the path of enlightenment, we look at that as stages for correcting our mind. And if we correct our mind, if we fix our mind, we'll also have to put a stop to mental misdeeds. And if we put a stop to mental misdeeds, we will also thereby put a stop to misdeeds of body and speech. So the main thing at the end that we will correct would be our mind.
단단 예주지 뭐 랑가서 드로그레스 라운디 피라야지 믹스 간디 아니 님보 마템바 이나야 아니 람름라야도 수존디 코란 살판 로샤가 센소를 차고라스 진짜 아니 람름 나올라야지 샘존이 림바디 믹스 간디 마 아니 때는 파면서 텔레폰 주온디기 아니 샘존이 림바디라 판 주온디기 아니 룽아기 예주디 치다니 고 르당가디 샘기 욕보 소르진자 샘 규주탄에 림바 쫄린 주온디 룽아기 예주디 코코라 아니 가서다지 아니 술 자르여는 파 코란살 로르 세소르지 송고레스라.
So this fourth greatness, I'm just going to look at the way that it was translated. It says the greatness of great misdeeds stopping by itself. Now, Geshe said that the stopping by itself here means that when you look at this presentation of the middling Lamrim, if you focus on training your mind in the sense of the path of enlightenment, then those misdeeds of body and speech will subside by themselves on their own accord, in the sense that even if you do not focus on them particularly, through training your mind in the presentation of the Lamrim, they would stop by themselves. So, of course, the most important thing that we deal with is our mental transformation, correcting our mind. And when you bring about that shift in your mind, when it changes, then although you do not have to focus particularly on physical and verbal actions by themselves, in a sense, they go back to their own place in that sense, or disappear into their own place. So this section ends up in points B and C. It says, point B says, when there is a realization along with the lines of the first two greatnesses, the misdeeds stop by itself. That is to say, since this is reversed simply by gaining certainty about what was shown above, the misdeed stops by himself. You should come to realize such certainty from the Lotus Sutra and other texts. This certainty should be sought by studying the chapter on the truthful ones as well as the Lotus Sutra. The other ways of abandoning the Dhamma should be learned from the Sutra, gathering all the threads.
Somebody chula nishi chidrche rimba sedro sumbal sumsi that dindri any karsorda sonrup content cheba kabarche kanji sangi ko son tusum gnang da zu bigi ti ye sonrup dita kandasni ne nyensam chego greslam da 아니 년출당 되니 주출을 소비 름바다 14분 아마 송구열에서 진짜 숨발을 숨 년비출 셰비출 주든 투모미 자기 솔로스.
We've covered the first 2 points in the main 4-point outline of the Lamrim. The third point is the way of teaching and listening to this Dhamma. So here we're looking at the teachings of the Buddha, the commentaries composed based on teachings of the Buddha, the qualities of body, speech, of mind of Buddha. How should they be taught, and how should we listen to such teachings? This is what the third point is explaining. Looking at the main outline for this section, explanation of how teachings possessing the 2 greatnesses should be listened to and explained. We're going to look at how to listen, how to explain, and generally how to proceed at the end.
담보로 숨 최대비 페이스amba 최대 최마와라 림르게 봐 녀주고서 담보는 퇴비 솜리 최대비 페이들이야 퇴비 솜 나와야 퇴비 최는 시버린 줄스 송르 아니 건전의 제보 퇴발할 때는 아니 취기 내든 싱그레스 퇴비 딜리 도버치 퇴비 대만인바 뽕 퇴비 냥인데바 탑
Let's begin with how to listen. There are a few points in that section, beginning with thinking about the advantages of listening to the Dhamma. First of all, from the verses about listening, it says, through listening, you come to know the phenomena, or you come to understand different essential points. Through listening, bad actions are reversed. Through listening, the meaningless is abandoned, and through listening, Nibbana is achieved.
Tadi yabu shudo asra jadanta yabu yorlata yabu shujra samla ya pembu shuj kanzna nganzu chu shingu yona sonrab thugo gres keran sonrab la thuba che thuena chu shingres keran digbal dog yona sonrab la thuba che gres keran sonrab thuba che baina keran digbal dog gres keran themaim bachi chawa maim ba tuzula ya pongo yona sonrab la thuba che gres keran sonrab töba yavucuna temayin ba pontu gres an nyangel deba togona sonrab la tengo gre sonrab töba chena nyangel deba togres di tereta dom.
This is such an excellent summary. It's a really good summary of what we need to do. So if you need to understand the Dhamma, then you need to study the Dhamma. If you study the Dhamma, you will come to understand these essential points. If you need to reverse or to avoid negativities, you need to study. If you study, you will come to avoid negativities. If you want to give up on affairs that are meaningless, you need to study. If you study, you will overcome affairs that are meaningless. You will abandon them. If you want to attain nirvana, you need to study. If you study, you will come to transcend sorrow.
This having on the teleshang and the ditten was the imagining on the ditten was to be channel shiver and to be daily towards to be to my input to be young in the top say sit the down.
So we will end the teachings here for now. We will end it with something that we need to repeat daily from the verses about listening. Through listening, and by the way, the word listening in Tibetan also indicates studying, right? So through listening, you come to know the phenomena, the Dhamma. Through listening, bad actions are reversed. Through listening, the meaningless is abandoned. And through listening, Nirvana is achieved. So thank you very much. I'll put the prayers on the screen. Before we leave it here for now, I'm just going to remind you people that Venerable Chuki is doing a DB weekend course, retreat weekend on bodhicitta, Saturday and Sunday from 9 to 12. So you're welcome to use the same Zoom link and join in, meditate on bodhicitta. It's going to be great. Make bodhicitta great again. So All right, dedication.
Essential
Rinpoche Marje Van Marje Gyuchi
Kyevan Yangpa
Neba Yang Kone Kondu Pewa Yudula Lama Sanje Yudini
Doa Chikyama Lupa De Sama Lopa Sho
Koi Shingon Su Penda Dewa Malu Jungrini Chenre Siwan Tenzi Gyatso Shabe Sinti Bardu Tengyuro Chi Jamgun Jawe Tenzin Yompe Wenguzo Tobozi Chosun Koele Mondu Anda Sotu Shigundu Shabden Sho. Thank you. See you next week. Bye.
Thank you.
So everyone's right, 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Coffee and ice cream?
On you.
Yeah, and I'm buying.
You can bring that down, we'll be very happy to receive.
All right.
Dreaming.
Yeah, you're dreaming. You're dreaming.